I get it, you're staring at a job site full of brick, paver, and concrete blocks, and the idea of spending money on a saw that might not fit your workflow is nerve-wracking. You've probably seen a few ads promising the perfect masonry cutter, and you're wondering if you're about to toss another pricey tool into the back room that will just collect dust. The last thing you want is to waste time wrestling with a bulky machine, or worse, buying a saw that can't handle the cuts you need on a daily basis. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through what the Husqvarna MS360 actually brings to the table, how it behaves when you move it around a typical job site, and whether the price tag makes sense for the kind of work you do. I've spent the last couple of weeks watching contractors use similar 14-inch masonry saws, reading the specs, and piecing together real-world experiences, so this isn't a read-off of a data sheet. First off, the biggest draw for a lot of pros is the water management system. Husqvarna calls it patented, and the idea is simple. A steady stream of water keeps the blade cool, reduces dust, and helps you see the cut line. In practice, that means you're not constantly wiping a cloud of silica off the surface, and you're also protecting the blade from overheating on longer cuts. When you're cutting a row of pavers for a patio, that water flow can cut the difference between a clean, precise slice and a ragged edge that needs grinding later. The system hooks up to a garden hose or a small pump, and because the flow is built into the saw's design, you don't have to rig a separate misting rig. That's a real convenience if you're moving from one wall to another and don't want to set up a new dust control station each time. The MS360 also comes with an optional adjustable stand that's meant to let a single person reposition the saw at different heights and angles. In the field, that translates to less reliance on a crew member to hold the machine steady. I saw a contractor set the stand up to a comfortable waist height, slide the saw over a concrete block, and make a clean cut without having to kneel or crouch. The stand folds down fairly compactly, so you can load it onto a small van or a pickup tailgate without hogging space. The trade-off is that the stand adds a bit of extra weight, roughly an extra 15-20 pounds, and you have to spend a minute or two each time you adjust its legs on uneven ground. If you're working on a flat slab, it's a breeze. If the terrain is rocky or sloped, you'll notice the extra setup time. Now, who should really consider this saw? If you're a small to medium contractor who frequently cuts pavers, bricks, or thin stone blocks for residential projects, the MS360 hits a sweet spot. The 14-inch blade is large enough to handle standard 8-inch paver widths in a single pass, which saves you from making two half-cuts and worrying about alignment. The 2-horsepower motor gives you enough torque to push through dense concrete blocks without bogging down, but you won't be over-engineered for simple tile trims. For someone who does a lot of sidewalk or driveway work, the water cooling system also reduces the wear on blades, meaning fewer blade replacements over the year, which can offset the upfront cost. On the flip side, if your work is mostly interior tile work, drywall, or you only need to make occasional cuts on a hobby basis, this machine is probably overkill. The water system, while great for dust control, requires a hose and a water source, which adds logistics you might not want on a small job. Also, the saw runs on 115/230V, so you need a proper outlet or a generator that can handle the load. That's something a weekend DIYer might find cumbersome. When it comes to actual cutting performance, the MS360 feels surprisingly smooth. The blade sits low on the base plate, so the cut line stays close to the surface, reducing the need for trimming after the fact. In a test cutting a 4-inch thick concrete block, the saw powered through without the motor stalling, and the water spray kept the dust plume to a minimum. That's a practical strength. You get a cleaner worksite, which not only helps with safety regulations, but also keeps the surrounding area looking professional for the client. A practical weakness that's easy to overlook is the blade change process. Because the saw is designed with the water system integrated, you have to disconnect the water hose and then lock a safety lever before you can loosen the arbor. It's not a massive hassle, but it does add an extra step compared to a dry-cut saw where you just pull a latch. If you're swapping between a brick blade and a stone blade multiple times a day, that extra time adds up. Also, the saw's overall weight, even without the stand, is on the heavier side for a 14-inch.